Well, on the theme of rights, the South African Human Rights Commission has released a report on the National Conference on Local Government Accountability, Service Delivery and Human Rights. For years, South Africa has seen mounting demonstrations against a lack of service delivery. Some have turned violent. So the Human Rights Commission hosted this conference last year, and it's now released a report with several recommendations. Let's speak to a South African Human Rights Commission Commissioner, Philile Ntuli. Ms. Ntuli, thank you so much for being with us. This report is quite long, sometimes technical. I mean, if you don't mind, let me ask you some very basic questions. Why are so many municipalities that are at the coalface of service delivery bankrupt, collapsing, owing money to Eskom, and seemingly unable to provide services for people?
Francis, good evening, and good evening to your viewers at home. Thank you very much for inviting us to your program this afternoon. Indeed, the South African Human Rights Commission has recently released its report. You will remember that we held the conference in August and September last year to also respond to the very same question that you have asked, which is, why is the state of municipalities across the country at such a state of crisis? You'll remember that the latest report issued by the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs revealed at the late stages of 2021 that over 60 municipalities are in a state of dysfunction, with about 110 also at very high risk. That same report and other reports, Francis, show that the problem is a myriad of interrelated factors, including but not limited to issues around skills and competence in local institutions, but also then related to that are the effects of political infighting, as well as tensions between the political and the administrative engines of local institutions. Issues around budgeting and planning are also a deep problem that is facing municipalities. And therefore, this report tries to summarize and consolidate these problem areas, and then also summarize what came out of the discussions, and also to focus on recommendations and solutions for moving forward.
And we'll go to the recommendations in detail, but if you had to pick one, what could really make the difference here? I mean, you talk about political appointments. That has been spoken about by former President Zuma for years, that maybe technocrats, skilled people needed to be put in key positions. Seemingly that hasn't been done. Could that make all the difference?
Absolutely, Francis. If you look at our report, you will see that our very first recommendation speaks exactly to that, which is the need to professionalize the public service. Ensuring that you focus on a professionalized public service will automatically kick out those who are unqualified, those who are unskilled, and therefore equip institutions that are so important on the ground with the necessary minds and intellect to be able to deliver on the mandate of basic services.
Did you look at pay? That always comes up. Are these professionals, and if they do become more professionalized, if technocrats are put in there, does the pay make it competitive?
Our deliberations, Francis, didn't go as far as pay. Our focus was on the interlinkages between service delivery and the state of ability of municipalities to deliver services and the effect thereof on human rights. So in our considerations, in our deliberations, the conversation was less about the remuneration itself, but more about some of the systemic problems that have been plaguing local municipalities, and what are the systematic interventions that are going to be required to move us through this period.
All right, you also say that consequence management is pitiable. I think that was the word, leading to poor performance. So nobody gets even a rap over the knuckles if they don't do their job. How do you change a culture like that? You're talking about an entrenched culture.
Absolutely. This entrenched culture of impunity that has given many public officials across the country, and not all, but many, the idea that they can act outside of the boundaries of the law and get away with it. Part of that is because of weakened consequence management systems within the public service. So we are focusing on that as well, to say that managers and those who are tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that those who act under the auspices of the public service and the state itself do so within the confines of policy and law, and if they should not, then they should meet the consequences in law.
All right, one thing that really caught my eye, and I've been sitting with this, you talk about a monitoring system that should cut across municipalities, provinces, and the nation, even look at international standards and help organizations such as yourself to monitor what's going on. That was decided in 1998 in a white paper. Besides monitoring, I mean, you look at the way things are working. We spoke about housing yesterday, and the Minister of Human Settlements saying there are duplications, there are the wrong people on the list, people are on lists in different provinces. Now, I'm just thinking, in this age where we talk about the digital revolution, where we're heading into a whole new era, surely some hot technology could have dealt with that a long time ago, should have picked up duplications. Everybody's asking, where is the housing list? Is that something basic that we could have done with technology?
Absolutely. I think the age we are living in of increased attention to technology and the innovations that are coming with this digital age is that it's offering us the opportunity to relook our existing systems and find ways to make work that we have previously and historically found difficult, if not impossible, to be able to do more seamlessly. With regards to monitoring, this is also one of the areas that we are excited and hopeful that the age of increased technology is going to assist us in ensuring that we streamline this project of monitoring whose powers and responsibilities are vested with various institutions across the state. So ours, for example, as the Human Rights Commission, we have a mandate to monitor, but we share that mandate, which is an oversight mandate in the main, with various other institutions. The DPME, as you have mentioned, also does a lot of monitoring and evaluation across the public service. Parliament also is tasked with oversight. The question for us must be, how do institutions that are tasked with these functions work together to ensure that the data is not questionable, has integrity, and is common across board?
Well, can I ask you in finality for an opinion? Because this was raised in 1998. And it seems like the technology could be in place by now. Some speculate that politicians have not wanted, for example, a housing list that is not fragmented, that is not opaque, because that would be a check on corruption. If we had a proper list of potholes, of where the roads are going wrong, if there was a more national picture, that cuts out a whole lot of potential for wrongdoing. Those who speculate that the politicians are happy with this situation, are they right or wrong?
Francis, that's a very important question. I don't think it's a question about whether politicians want the system or not. It's a question of why do we not yet have the system. And the reason for that mainly is coordination. It's not because politicians, I believe, either want this or don't want it. In a scenario or environment where functions, especially constitutionally mandated functions, are well coordinated, especially when those functions are shared across institutions of the state, then you are able to develop and establish very efficient systems. But in the absence of that coordination, power, and ability, then you find these cracks that are now showing themselves as a crisis at local government level.
All right, thank you. I wish we had more time. Hopefully this report at least diagnoses the problem and sets out some clear recommendations. Thank you very much. That was Philile Ntuli, South African Human Rights Commissioner.